talking about how clean the parks looked and stuff, and greatly appreciate the email, the support of you, Jonathan, Matt, Tony, up around the park. Is, we do our best with visibility up there, and it's kind of amazing that only one needle was found during that last cleanup where, you'd be finding, 10, 20, and for the whole year, I think upwards of 100 just a couple of years ago. So, the officers at the station have bought into, that area, and several other areas we're out and about, the alleyways down a little further, Chester Park, we're trying to be down around there. The whole district, really, big district, but, for your support, we appreciate it. And I know he's on there, Councilor Flynn, great supporter of BPD, in some tough times right now. And, Councilor, appreciate all your support. And like you said, he's at everything. He really has the community's best interest in mind all the time. And I appreciate that. And just a quick thing before I get going. I think someone might be on from EBA, or I seen that on your agenda. We got some great posters from some young kids from the school up there. And, we posted that right where all the officers write their reports. We got them one today. It's got all the little kids' handprints and some, nice little notes from the young kids up there. Greatly appreciated too. So I just wanted to get that out there before we get going. And, crime for the district, it's down 19% from last year to date. We are down in all major categories right now. Commercial breaks with 39 at this time last year. We have 18 right now. And I know like that Sharman Ave used to get hit a few times over the years. A couple of the restaurants, Washington Street, some cleaners were hit. So we haven't seen that this year. A couple of the suspects that were responsible, are off the radar, probably still in jail from that. There was some blood evidence found that keeps coming back and tied to these gentlemen from breaks that are still under investigation from last year. So that's some good news there. Residential burglaries, 53 this year. Last year at this time. Right now we have 43, got a decrease there. Big drop in robberies, 45 at this time last year, down to 29 right now. And aggravated assaults, 90 at this time last year, 56 at this time. And a lot of that has to do with, we're not seeing the numbers. Unfortunately, District 6 right over the border is seeing an increase in aggravated assaults. A lot of these are, homeless on homeless.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
It's my watch. It really hasn't, since we closed down that comfort station at the connector, when we put up the scale there, a lot has gone on to other districts, and it does look better on ours. We're still having issues, with some stuff going on, but not like we seen at this time last year. So that's a big drop. And a huge drop in car breaks, which is great for the district. We're going from last year at this time, 199 car breaks. And this is year to date today through the stats I got. So 199 last year. And right now we're at 98, which is a 51% drop, which is huge. And the ones we are seeing, a lot more people are locking their doors. Where kind of used to be 50% that, doors left open or windows smashed. We're seeing more windows smashed. Start a little program where officers respond to a car break, did a flyer. We have some flyers made up, the surrounding cars, just to let people know, hey, we've had a car break there. But it's been very good this year as far as numbers wise. There are going to be some turns number wise. We also had the protest last year, May 31st. We had the looting that went on. So obviously commercial breaks are going to skyrocket compared, or look like a big decrease from last year, because we had about 200 breaks that night. So our numbers will look better. But along those lines, last year at this time, a lot of the stores closed. So the shopliftings and larcenies from, say, a CVS, we didn't have as many last year. So they're going to increase because these stores were closed at that time. So the numbers, it's going to be a funny year, the way those come out as we go forward. as far as violent crime on the district, we've had some concerning events recently. We had about 2 weeks ago, shots fired up the Villa between the little cut through between Aquadilla Street and San Juan, kind of adjacent to O'Day Playground, which has been a hotspot over the years for firearm violence. Last year, it was a main hotspot with, I think, 5 shots fired up there. So, you know, I've been in touch with Mahoney Properties that oversees the area, who's in touch. They're in touch with Eber on this. You know, we made an arrest 2 days later on that through great detective work and great video from the area. And that is a Villa gang member that was arrested. So we have strong presence up that area right now. And, you know, unfortunately, we had a terrible stabbing at Shawmut Ave in West Newton Street the other night, where unfortunately a gentleman lost his life. The officers were at that other location a block away. We're on scene within minutes. We got a great description out, and, you know, it's an active investigation leading in the right direction. That same night, while the officers were crossing that scene, they heard several shots fired in the distance. We had 17 rounds fired outside East Lenox and Washington Street in the 1800 block of Washington Street. Extremely concerning. While the officer was in the hospital with the detectives, with the stabbing victim, 2 victims self-applied to Boston Medical Center shot. You know, we had someone shot in the face and some fragments got someone in the head. So extremely concerning. We're very low violence for violent crime on the district, but it was a tough weekend, and active investigation on that shooting with detectives working that. And as far as how we direct patrols, we have a strong presence up the Villa right now. And the people that hang out, I'm getting rave reviews from the residents, but we're met with a hostile crowd before the homicide who aren't happy that they can't drink on the sidewalk like they used to, and can't have their double parked cars like they used to. I'm up there the other day, vulgarities thrown at me, which is fine, but this is what we're up against, trying to, in a tough policing climate right now, where people are looking for confrontation with us, and, you know, God forbid something goes south. Oh, the police were just here because someone was drinking. No, we're here to prevent the violence that we see, and I need the community support from everyone on this Zoom, because it's going to be a hot summer, and with other violence we're seeing in the city, we just need support of people when we're in the parks addressing quality of life issues such as drinking, drug use, because that's what leads to the violence, you know. And it's today, 130 Dartmouth Street, we get a call kind of similar to Blackstone, Franklin Square area, where, you know, we addressed issues over the years and made it better and for the residents to come. 130 Dartmouth Street, people dealing with the same issues, and the officers get down there and they recover a firearm, you know, down at 130 Dartmouth Street by Tent City. Very dangerous situation, and it's called a ghost gun that can't be traced. I'm sure people are hearing about them on the news. You know, you can get supplies and put these together yourself, and very, very dangerous. Great job by the officers. You know, we got a recruit class coming out June 10th, where I'll be getting new officers, and I have a group coming off their year's probation. I had 34 officers rotate through the district, and we do an internal form when someone comes back, and I'm in the mid-20s of officers wanting to come back to D4, which is kind of unheard of to get that many officers wanting to come back. So we got a good thing going in the district, but just as we get into the summer, you know, we just appreciate your support, and, you know, you guys are always great with the Blackstone Franken group. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but like I said, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Captain Sweeney. Any comments on the recent car accidents? There were 2 freaky car accidents that happened a day apart, where one car flipped. Was it just speed? And I mean, I'd never seen a car flip in the South End before. And also that car that hit the lamppost, which unfortunately has now gone. permanently, I guess. Are those just speed
I think-
related, Captain Sweeney?
Yeah, the one that happened, and I'm not familiar with the lamppost, but I
Yeah.
know the one I think you're talking about on, it was right off of Tremont Street coming on to right before Pembroke, I think.
Yeah,
The
car
car
flipped.
flipped. Yeah, he took the corner fast. That like everyone couldn't believe how a car could flip there. Oh, it was very strange.
Wow.
You know, obviously dangerous. We're you know, we have our traffic cars out there. You know, COVID obviously approaching cars all the time. Like, I'm not going to say we stopped doing motor vehicle stops, but it did change our policing a little, not wanting officers to get sick. You know, but we are, you know, with this, we're conducting more stops now, especially when something like that pops up.
Okay,
And
great.
one thing I just wanted to say quick, we're seeing a huge uptick in the dirt bikes,
Yes.
and the ATVs coming down. The crew riding these, you know, it's a citywide problem. It's a very fine line of how we police that. We can't chase, you know, they're intimidating people at red lights, but they know we're not allowed to chase them. It's too dangerous for civilians. If we ever did try to chase them, you know, someone get hit in the crosswalk, and say we did, what's the narrative on that? It was just a kid on a dirt bike. You know, there's a lot of issues, and worse than here in other parts of the city with the dirt bikes. You know, they're coming down kind of where I am now, wreaking havoc on Newbury Street, Boylston Street. I'm getting a ton of calls from the, you know, the hotels, the outdoor diners about that. But, you know, what we try to do is we look and we try to get help from the neighbors. They're putting them in a garage somewhere. They're driving them up into U-Haul trucks. We need neighborhood groups. And if you don't think someone will be parking on your street with the U-Haul, several years ago, right on Columbus Ave, you know, a tiny side street, someone called us and there was 6 dirt bikes in the back of the U-Haul. So anything like that, you give us a call, because it's much safer. If they're going into a basement, we get the fire department involved, ISD, you know, gasoline in the basement, stuff like that. So we're trying to use the public to help us with those, because someone's putting these somewhere, and there's a lot of them out there. And I know it's upsetting to people to hear that there's not much we can do with it, but the environment we're in now, we can't really risk something bad going on, and then Boston's on the front page of the news or around the country for something. Just that there was an issue in Rhode Island where they rioted over the police going after a dirt bike, and the kid crashed. You know, so we have to police smart in that area.
You told us, yes, sorry.
I just had a quick question. Thanks for all your help and the work you're doing. I live in the apartment that was adjacent to where the murder was Friday night. Obviously a very tragic event. Just curious, from a civilian standpoint, would you recommend taking any additional precautions? Do you feel like this is something that was a random act that we should be more concerned about, more vigilant about? And also curious about the role of the security cameras. How has that impacted your policing over the past few months since they've been instated?
Well, as the first thing, I'll always be visually surrounded, and I tell that to everyone. And, you know, if there's a group congregating, drinking out on the sidewalk, you know, I would call 911 for that, and we'll go by, you know, especially that area right now. You know, obviously tensions are high from the victim's group that he hung around with. But as far as, do I think violence is going to be directed back towards that from this incident? No, I don't. And as far as the cameras, and I know it was a long process and that they finally got put up, but, you know, you see those blue boxes around. We need those, and they were instrumental in some of these cases that we're dealing with, especially the shots fired in this homicide. They're needed. A lot of people don't like them. They have their reasons for not liking them, but police-wise, you got a shooting solved right away, and you have a homicide that's on its way to being solved. So the cameras were needed for a reason. That area, even though we had other cameras, and we've talked to, you know, Blackstone Franklin about this, and there was some blind spots there. You know, you'll see them around Newhall Street and right there. You know, if someone takes an alley quick there, you know, you lose sight of them, then they're gone. You know, now we have camera footage for that.
Great, thank you.
Are you able to say, Captain, with regard to the stabbing, the murder, that was not a random act. That was something that where the people were known to one another, or there was some prior.
I can't say it's not someone walking down the street going to their house after coming from the market. We'll just say that.
Thank you.
And Captain Sweeney, I just want to say thank you, because you've educated this neighborhood association about how complicated your job is. And we really do appreciate the difficulty you have with just making sure that you walk a very delicate line between the community. And we definitely will keep an eye out for those dirt bikes and do whatever we can to support you. So thank you for always explaining to us how complicated it is. And if there's anything you can tell us to do for you, please do that, you know.
No,
so
definitely,
thank you.
like I said, appreciate all your help, everyone there, you know, Jonathan, David, Tony, Matt, if he's on there. I don't see him, but
Yeah, he's incognito. He's the fountain with the lights on it.
Well, Jonathan's looking all tan there. I don't know if he went away or anything.
He did.
Oh.
He's been on vacation.
I was trying to be quiet so I wouldn't be called out, but yeah, I would echo Tony's words. I've been in the neighborhood for 7 years. I've seen a complete 180 due to your presence in the squares in particular, but other areas of the neighborhood in terms of cleaning things up. I mean, the needle reduction that we're finding on the ground is remarkable. That's a direct correlation to your presence. I would just say for folks on the neighborhood that are on the call, you'll see the continued presence. You'll see the officers in the park. Don't be afraid to go up and say hello and you know, chat with them. They're all friendly. They're all nice. They need our feedback. They need our support, and we're going to continue to do that. So a big thank you from me personally, and I think for many of us here in the neighborhood.
Cool.
Jonathan, could I just jump in for a second? And Tony, I just want to say thank you also to Captain Sweeney and the CSOs as well. They play a critical role in the neighborhood. And, you know, we're in the budget process now at City Hall. And that's something I advocate for, is more police. We desperately need more police in the city. We lose probably 100 through retirement every year, but it's important that we continue working closely with Captain Sweeney's team and on these quality of life, public safety issues. So just want to say thank you to the Boston Police and to the residents too, for developing and working closely with the police.
Thank you for that, Councilor Flynn. That's actually a great point. How can we, as residents, offer our support on that front? Because I know a lot of funding can be tied to things like having more bike patrol presence, for example, that seems to be really favorable from a lot of the different neighborhoods. So are there ways that we should voice our support around these budget hearing timeframes?
Yeah, I think so. This is the budget season. You know, if you want to weigh in with an email, you have four at-large city councilors. You have me as a district councilor. You have Mayor Janey, who's also a district councilor, and you have Councilor Baker, who represents part of the South End too. So you have 3 South End city councilors. But I would weigh in and let them know what your position is. You know, that you want to see more police hired. You want to see more police. They play a critical role in the neighborhood. And I think it's appropriate to send the at-large, the mayor, myself, and the district councilors an email on what's important for you. Okay, yeah, thank you for that. That's helpful, because I think many of us wonder what we can do to voice our support. If we see things that are working, for example, the model that Captain Sweeney has built in District 4, in particular, Blackstone Franklin Square neighborhood, has been pretty effective. Community policing, out engaging with the community of all sorts, and it's making a difference. And we want to continue to support on that front. So that's helpful advice for anybody on the call that wants to offer some suggestions or some feedback or some ways that we can continue to support to help with these quality of life issues that we all face.
All right, folks, I have to jump off. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Sweeney.
So So our next item is we have a bit of organizational housekeeping, which is this being May, we need to do our annual election for the Blackstone Franklin Square Neighborhood Association Board. And so I'm going to ask that everybody who is a member cast a vote. We'll do this via a Zoom poll that we'll put up on the screen in just a moment. And our slate of individuals who are standing for election is everybody who's expressed interest in serving for the 21-22 term. And so let me just read the names for formality and what office they're standing for. Jonathan Alves is Vice President, Tony Crodel is Secretary, Heather Govern is Director, Matt Muse, Treasurer, Mark Ott, Director, and David Stone, which is myself, President. So Matt, can you put up the poll, please? Yeah. Can people see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. People could please vote yes or no.
I suppose I'll vote yay, David.
I'm not allowed, it's not letting me vote, so I'm not sure if this is an omen. I'm voting yay, just for the record. Do people need more time?
Unanimous.
Okay.
I might also add that for for any folks to see exactly who's on the meeting, but we're always looking for anybody that's interested and has a little bit of time and wants to get involved. We have different subcommittees that are focused exclusively on the parks and organizing cleanups. We're looking for folks to help be a liaison with the dog community. Any dog owners out there, so that we can help come up with ideas and ways that everybody can enjoy the parks and the squares together. So I think we usually put our email in the chat, but for anybody that's interested, that maybe joined tonight for the first time or has been participating over the years and has some time and wants to get involved, the more the merrier, as we say.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just make one other quick announcement before our friend Vanessa from EBA is here to talk about 85 West Newton Street. But before we get there, let me just make mention also that our scholarship committee is having its reception for this year's class of recipients, which I think is going to be one of the largest ever. And they're having a reception. It's going to be at the AC Hotel on Wednesday, June 9th at 6 p.m. And everybody on this Zoom and all residents are invited to come. It's totally free. We just ask that you RSVP to our email account on our website so that we have a sense of how many people may be coming. But it should be a really fun time. It's a really, really cool thing. So that's the info. So Vanessa, if you're on, would you like to speak to the future of what's currently a hole in the ground at 85 West Newton Street?
Thank you, David, and thank you for inviting me. You're gonna get a preview of the information. So you're the first group actually that I'm meeting with to talk a little bit about the plans. And in fact, we have a meeting next week on the 25th, I want to say. Let me confirm that 1 second. Yeah, on the 25th. If you haven't received the information, let me know. So make sure to send it to you so you can forward to your membership and to other residents. And in that meeting, we will have our architects present to introduce themselves. So let me tell you a little bit about where we're in the process. So as you know, the building was, taken down last November. And we have been swiftly and steadfastly working on a plan to redevelop the property. Our plan is not to keep the hole there like the filings basement hole in Downtown Crossing. Is really to see something come up as soon as possible. So we spent the beginning of this year really interviewing architects and creating an RFP and talking to different design teams, then narrowing down the field, asking for proposals, and teaming and selecting a team. The team that we selected is a joint team comprised of 2 architectural firms. One of them is Ann Beha Architects, who has a lot of experience in art spaces and civic and cultural spaces. It's a women-owned firm, and Ann actually has a quite good experience working in the South End, across the city, but definitely in the South End, and also working with landmarks, the South End Landmarks District Commission. The second firm that is part of this joint venture is called Studio NA, and is owned also by a woman, and is a Puerto Rican woman, so minority women-owned firm. And Studio NA has also a lot of experience in developing civic spaces and cultural spaces. They actually redeveloped and renovated art space in Salem State University, their biggest auditorium. And Ann Beha, I forgot to mention, was involved in the development of a big cultural auditorium space for New England Conservatory. So we're very excited about this venture. So let me tell you a little bit about the process now that we have selected the architects. We have been meeting weekly, sometimes more than once a week for the past 3 weeks, to start thinking about, creating the schedule, creating a program for the building. That means really understanding what the needs are in terms of space, and so they can start creating and designing the space. Also meeting with the city. We met with acting Mayor Janey already. We also met with members of the BPDA. We have nothing to show. It was more kind of a heads up meeting with them because we haven't gotten as far as getting anything designed yet. So in terms of the process, we hope that we will have some sketches of design by the end of the summer, hopefully early fall, that we can come to you and to the community and to the residents of Villa Victoria, and certainly to South End Landmarks and BPDA to get feedback. We will start perhaps that permitting process around the same time once we have something to show for. Then we expect that we will have, it will be a back and forth in terms of the design with all the stakeholders involved, yourselves included. And we hope that we obviously continue with the cost estimates, select construction contractor, and perhaps start in about probably at the beginning of 2020, or at the end of 2022. So it will take us, or summer of 2022. So it will take us about a year between, the first ideas of design, the permitting, and the process to break ground sometime in about a year. And then it'll be probably 2 years of construction, 2 to 3 years of construction. So we hope to have something to open and celebrate in 2024, hopefully by the end of 2024. In tandem with that, and then I'll stop and answer questions, aligned with that process, we are in the final stages of selecting a capital campaign consultant that will help us raise the money to get the building going. We believe that that the campaign will take just about the same time that the building will take to get built. So just about 2 to 3 years. We don't know how much the building will cost yet. We will have more of that sense once we have a design. However, as you recall, as we were talking to Landmarks, and we did the examination before the building came down, the old building came down, and we explored what would be an estimated cost for the different options that we had in front of us, from keeping the facade and demolishing everything else, or keeping the full walls, or taking everything down. At the time, we estimated that the most feasible option was to take down the building, and we at the time thought that that was going to be about $60 million. That I'm sure with inflation and cost of living and cost of construction going up, which they have, it will be more than that, but we don't know exactly how much it will be. So more to come on that, and that will obviously inform our capital campaign once we get it started. So that's where we at. Next week, as I mentioned, the meeting is to get to know the architect so people can ask questions about their experience, about their thinking already. We had a really good meeting actually this morning and start thinking about how the square footage will be. It's fun to play architect for the day, type of thing for me at least, because we thinking about how much square footage will be dedicated to offices or to back rooms or to reception space or to conference space. So we're in that process now. So let me stop here and hear your questions, your comments.
So Vanessa, I know the building's not designed yet, but can you speak to kind of the functions and activities that it's going to be a home to?
Absolutely, great question. Yes, we originally thought that, well, obviously the main activity of this building will be arts and cultural space. And will be a multi-purpose space, right? That will house our arts space, arts center, like a performance arts space, which some, what would we call it? With some type of platform, not necessarily a stage as it was before. Or it could be a stage, we don't know that yet, but some type of platform where performances can be held within that bigger space. We also expect to have space for visual exhibits, so a gallery space. We also expect to have conference rooms because all of EVA staff will be moved to that building. So all of it will be above, it will be offices for the staff. It will also include conference rooms. It will include art studios, or arts classrooms, because we had that in the old building and we used that for our youth programs. So we will have art studios. What else? So those are the main functions, right? With the performance arts space, the gallery space, art studios or arts classrooms, offices, and conference rooms. So that's more or less. In terms of size, we don't know yet, but we thought originally, as we're putting the RFP together and based on the exploration that we did a couple of years ago, we thought that the total of the building would be about 30,000 square feet. Right now, as we are and that would accommodate all of these functions that I just mentioned. Right now, including the net space for all these functions, plus the gross space for the infrastructure, is below that. It's below 30,000. But we're not done yet, so that may go up or may go down. But I feel pretty confident that it's not going to be more than 30,000 square feet in total gross space area.
And does that translate, I know it's not designed yet, but does that sort of translate to like a 3 or 4 story building, or kind of something that's sort of within the same envelope?
Obviously, it will be a multi-story building.
Right.
We don't know how many stories. Obviously, the steeple have some height. So that's one of the things that we are looking at now in terms of, zoning. What would that look like? What would it be? What would be zoning as of right or not? So we're looking at that, but it'll be certainly multi-floor, multi-story. We think right now, nothing is decided. We think that there would be about like a 2-story first floor for the performing arts space, and then potentially 3 floors above to accommodate all those other functions of offices, conference rooms, and arts classrooms. So probably about 5 stories up, I think. But don't hold me on that because nothing is decided yet. But that's more or less the ideas that are floating around.
Perfect. We won't hold you to it, but that's just
the architects can tell more next week. They will have all their lingo. It's really fun to work with, and we're very excited about these 2 women and their teams. I think they have assembled really good teams to work in this project, and they do have experience developing and designing these kinds of spaces. So it's kind of easier to get into the conversation because this is not their first rodeo.
And the meeting's on the 25th, is that right?
The meeting.
Oops.
To send you the link if you haven't received it, and you can forward it to.
Okay, you actually froze there as you were answering the question.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. So the meeting is on the 25th?
Yes.
And
can you hear me? Let me stop my video for a second, see if that helps.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, the meeting is on the 25th at 5:30. And I'll be happy to forward the link to you, David, and then, or Jonathan, and then you can forward it to everyone in this call, all of your members, resident, other.
Okay, and is it on your website as well?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's announced on the website.
Okay, I did not see it there, but that was as of a couple of days ago.
Okay, yeah, it probably isn't. That's a good question.
Okay. Does anyone else?
But I'll definitely forward it to you so you all have it, and as many of you can join us.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
Vanessa, you might have answered this already. Sorry, I had a kid emergency for a moment. And what are your aspirations about when this building, this magical building, will open? Did you answer that already? What are you thinking opening year?
Yeah, we hope that it will take about a year.
Okay.
From now, not for the whole building, to finish all the design process, permitting, etc. So we hope that by 2022, sometime in the fall of 2022, we break ground in the summer or fall of 2022. And then it will take at least 2 years, 2 to 3 years to be built for the construction project. So you also have to think it's a very tight space. It's a very tight lot. So we already have started talking about, what would that mean in terms of, construction, but it will take at least a good 2 years to be built. So sometime in 2024 is the target. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you all for your support. You have been great partners in this from the beginning when we were struggling with the fate of the building. And as I always say to everyone, now we're excited about the future of the building, but we did we did go through the pain and the grief of having to let go of a building that means a lot to us, and a building in which we built great community memories. So the aspiration and the goal now is to build a newer, more functional and modern building that will be there for all of us and for many other generations to come. So thank you so much for all your support, and I hope to see many of you next Tuesday. Thank you for having me.
Definitely, thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Marci, bye. So, Marci, are you here?
I am. Hello.
Hi.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Let me just introduce you briefly. So Marci Costa is a liquor licensing and permitting attorney representing Jaho Coffee and Tea, which we all know on Washington Street, which is going for a all alcoholic beverages license. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So why don't you just tell us about the process? And there's going to be an abutters meeting sponsored by the city on Thursday. Also, people should be aware.
Yes, I also have Anil on the video as well. He is the owner and manager of record at the premises. So we have applied to the Boston Licensing Board for an all alcoholic beverages license to be exercised at the premises. We have an abutters meeting scheduled for this Thursday. The agenda says 7 p.m., but it's actually at 6 p.m. And the link and everything for that WebEx is on there. I can also send it along again, the flyer, so that everyone can have it. You can pass it along to other residents, everybody on this call, as many people that join us, the better. So the goal of adding all alcoholic beverages to Jaho South End is to really just offer another element of the experience at the location. Anil owns and operates a number of Jaho locations within the city of Boston, as well as Salem. That's where his flagship store is. And there are others that do offer alcoholic beverages on the menu, specifically not too far in the Back Bay on Huntington Ave. That location of Jaho does have an alcohol license. And the real purpose of this is not to change the clientele or the atmosphere of the cafe. It is really to just add another reason for people to come to Jaho and enjoy. So if you go there in the morning for your morning coffee and maybe a breakfast pastry, you'll also stop after work for your after work drink and maybe some dinner or another snack. If you're a student and you're studying all day. When I was in law school, I would have loved a place to study and also have a glass of wine when I'm there at 8 o'clock at night, still waiting to go home. So it really is not meant to add, there's not going to be shots. The cocktail menu will be the same as the one in the Back Bay. If you've never been, it's coffee, cocktails, mimosas, Aperol spritz. It's not a place where people are going to take shots and get rowdy. That's not the goal and not what Anil's vision for this space is. It's just a place for people to enjoy. I apologize if you just heard my dryer go off. It is a place for you to go and enjoy the atmosphere, to take a load off, have a great food item, whether it's a dessert item that they have or one of their fantastic sandwiches, and have a cocktail or a glass of wine to go along with it, just the way you would go in the morning for your latte and your breakfast item. So the hours of operation are not changing. There will be some renovations to the premises just to allow for the alcohol storage, allow for more, display of the new products, updated menus, all of that. But overall, the atmosphere that you've come to know from Jaho isn't going anywhere. The hours of operation aren't changing. The alcohol service will just begin at the legal time in the morning. And so you won't be able to drink before 8:30. And so, yeah, that's really the main goal here. Again, it's really just an elevated experience, something that Anil has really been curating at his other locations and now wants to bring to the South End, something to the neighborhood that everyone can enjoy. So we're happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Anyone have any questions or want to offer an opinion or thought?
I can offer a thought or a comment.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming to our meeting and giving us an update on the process. It sounds like you're moving forward with becoming a proper European style cafe, offering full service. The thing that I'm wondering is, will there be any changes to the hours of operation? I think right now the cafe closes around 9 o'clock during the week and the weekend. Are there any plans to extend those hours now that you'll be offering, you'll have an alcohol license?
We have applied for a closing hour of 11 p.m.
Okay.
Of course, we take the community's input on hours of operation. We think about them very closely. That's what we've asked the board for. It is to allow for just, extended hours for the purposes of people. If they're stopping by for an after dinner drink and dessert, they do have that option to use that in the neighborhood. If they're down the road eating at Toro and they want to scoot down for something great, then it's there for them waiting. So that's what the extension of the hours is. Again, not to give a place for people to go wild and crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be consistent with the other places on the street. And, on a personal opinion, I'm always in favor of foot traffic, after 9 o'clock, because I think sometimes in the city, 9, 10 o'clock, things can get kind of quiet on the streets. And when there are more people out, sometimes it can feel a little bit safer. So it's good to hear that you'll be consistent with, some of the other establishments that are along Washington Street in that area. So thanks for sharing the process. And I think you said the abutters meeting is on Thursday, right?
On Thursday, yes. And then we're meeting with Worcester Square next Tuesday as well. So making sure we get in all of the neighborhood.
Does Jaho have an outdoor presence, just out of curiosity?
It does. It has a small outdoor patio. It's about 20 seats. So the license will extend onto that patio. We have asked the board to include those seats in the license premises.
And I should know this, but I don't. Is that in the rear, or is that where that is, or in the front, or I just can't visualize?
It is in the front of the building.
Okay.
David, you'll have to go by for a coffee.
Got it. It's really good.
I have been there. Is anybody on who lives very, very near there who wants to offer an opinion? Does anybody have a concern?
Mike, are you trying to say something? Yes.
Yeah, we're actually right down the street because we live next door to Tony, and I've never been there yet. Steve has probably been there, but I'm looking forward to giving it a try, and like I said, he's always enjoyed the coffee there, so I'm part of my first experience, so it'll be fun, I'm sure.
Thank you, guys.
And just come, just to say.
Anyone else?
So Marci and Anil, it's nice to meet you. Sorry, Councillor Flynn, you are first. You are first. I'm quiet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. I just want to keep everybody posted when there is a licensing issue or a ZBA or BPDA hearing scheduled. Sophia Wang, who's also on the call, we always check with the neighborhood organization and we ask your opinion about upcoming hearings. And I think we almost always accept the recommendation of the impacted neighborhood organization. So I don't think there's ever been a case where I've been in disagreement with the neighborhood association on various issues, but I always take my feedback from the neighborhood association. So looking forward to working with you guys, and just let Sophia know from my staff about what your recommendation is. And I'm sure we will take that. We will take that to the board as well.
Let me propose something for our members who are still on. So we've talked about this proposal as a board, and individually we all support it as a board. And ordinarily we could take a member vote right now for support or opposition or non-opposition, but I'd just like to hold that until the actual official abutters meeting is held, only because that will be noticed to all the people who actually live right there, who are in our district, but not here tonight necessarily. And just want to make sure that there are no concerns from the people who live directly above, next door, et cetera, that we need to take into account. But absent hearing those on Thursday, what we'll go ahead and do is give you a letter of support from the organization, unless anybody here wants to offer a dissenting view right now.
Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you taking the time and having us at your meeting this evening.
Welcome.
I have one question. This is probably more of a process. How quickly does the approval happen post a butters meeting? Is that something that takes several months, or is this something that happens pretty quickly?
So we will have the abutters meeting, and we will be on, it looks like, the June 2nd BLB hearing agenda. So we'll send out abutter notifications this week for that hearing. And then the licensing board votes, and then it has to go up to the ABCC. So we say it takes about 60 days for everything to shake itself out. It can take longer, and it can take less time. It really just depends on how busy all of the investigators are. But the vote at the BLB is pretty quick, and then the ABCC is where things kind of slow down a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I've had some experience there in another lifetime. And just wondering, so your expectation is if everything goes smoothly, you're making some small renovations, you get the approvals, you'll be, serving by the summer, by July, August timeframe?
I think, yeah, we're hoping for end of July, August. Anil will start the necessary renovations once we know for sure about the license with the vote, and then he'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Very helpful information, and good luck with the process.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Anil, we would love to just get to know you better as well in the neighborhood. It's wonderful to have you on this meeting. So we're looking forward to just what progress you make.
Yeah.
Okay. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, thank you.
Hey, we saw it's your 10-year anniversary here in the South End. Is that right? I saw that on your website.
Yeah, yep. It's actually 10 years. So yeah, I mean, as part of it, we're renewing our lease and want to freshen up the store and, just bring it in line with the other locations, like Marci said, with cocktails and the wine part.
And bubble tea.
Great.
And bubble tea, yeah.
Great. Well, we'll go to the abutters meeting, but as I said, we anticipate absent hearings, some compelling reason not to. We will be extending our support.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me so we have a few more minutes here, and this is going to be our shortest meeting in a long time, which is actually great. But we left a little bit of time here just to go through a couple of items that people may or may not be aware of that I just think it would be useful to mention. And Matt, can you are you able to bring up the map of the bid? See if we can get that. Can you do that, Matt, or? Oh, terrific, thank you. So people probably aren't aware, other than Councillor Flynn, who's been really involved and helpful, but the Newmarket Business Association, which represents the business, as the name would suggest, the businesses in the Newmarket district, is pursuing the concept of a business improvement district to cover Newmarket and a little bit of the South End, including some of our area, as you can see from what's inside the red line. And probably many of you, if not most of you, know what a bid is, but it's a construct whereby property owners within a defined geography, a certain percentage of them agree voluntarily to take on a slightly greater property tax burden, and that money gets funneled to an organization that provides a higher level of certain services than the city ordinarily can provide. And there are bids all over the place, and the one that I'm most familiar with, and probably most of us are most familiar with, is in Downtown Crossing. And you see that the workers down there who wear the vests and the uniforms, and they're cleaning up, they're directing people, et cetera. And the concept here is that the Newmarket group feels that this extra money would help them with a number of things that are concerns to them that mostly derive from the presence of mass and casts and all of that, the impacts there. And what they're wanting to do specifically is do a heightened level of street cleanings, some beautification. They want to operate a shuttle service that would allow the employees of the businesses that are there, many of whom depend on public transportation and therefore currently have to walk through some of the craziness around Mass and Cass, a shuttle service that would take them right to their businesses, et cetera. And I personally think it's a great idea for Newmarket, but as you can see, some of the affected properties would be institutional properties at BMC and BU, and then also some commercial properties potentially here in the South End. And so that's where there's become a discussion around how much of the South End should or shouldn't be included within the boundaries. And it's been my position, I've been part of these discussions, that BMC and BU, if they are amenable to being part of the bid, and my understanding is they are, that's totally fine, but that the line should not otherwise extend north of Albany Street. And so it should not include that jog that you can see up there at the top, which is to take in the Smith and some other property owned by Leggett McCall and some other commercial properties there. That should be excluded. And then the other point of discussion that's been happening right now is whether the old Flower Exchange, now the South End Exchange property, which is just south of Albany Street, but still in the South End, and Jacobson's, which is the other flower property that's just closer to Frontage Road, but again, still in the South End, whether those should be included. So that's just a discussion that is going on. I just think people should be aware of it. One thing to be clear on, under no circumstance will it include any of the small scale residential properties in the South End. There'll be nobody in a condo or a row house or that kind of a thing will be included. Anyone have any questions? Do you want to say anything about it, Councillor Flynn? Or
I think you captured the entire debate pretty well. I think it's from my perspective, it's mostly right now an issue that has to be resolved along what exactly the jurisdiction is of the potential bid. And I think until that issue is resolved, I don't see it happening in the immediate future until we resolve that issue.
Right. And just to be clear, I think the issue is really just around the exact boundaries. I don't believe that there is a significant constituent. Not every business, not every property owner within the boundaries may wish to participate, and so there's that. But I don't think there's any significant constituency in the South End that opposes the bid just on principle. I don't think that's the case. I think people support it. It's just a question of where the boundaries are drawn and what portion of the South End is or is not included. I think that's a fair summary.
Yeah, that's right. And just as an FYI, there's another bid that's also in my district, which is the Rose Kennedy Greenway, which basically runs from the North End all the way to the Greenway to the to Chinatown.
And can you, since we have you here, Councilor, can you just give a sort of a simple explanation as to the legislative process about how a bid comes into existence?
Yeah, it would need the approval of the Boston City Council. It would have to be voted on by the City Council, and then I believe signed by the mayor. But I also am pretty sure that a bid comes up for renegotiation it's either every 4 years or every 5 years, whether or not the city and the business community, business owners rather, want to keep the bid. So I think it's as simple as getting approval from the City Council and the mayor, and then it's pretty much in effect. Then I don't think there's I don't think it goes to the legislature. I'm not sure.
Okay, but it does not go before the City Council unless and until the proponents of the bid can gather a sufficient level of support among property owners. correct?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the initial stage. And so that's what's happened. That's what's going on now is the proponents are soliciting support.
Yeah, unless it's ready to go, the city council wouldn't review it unless,
right.
you know, all the paperwork is in order.
Right. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. Can you please, let's move on to the next subject. And Matt, can you please bring up the site plan for the Shattuck? I just wanted to. So we've been, the people who were here at the last meeting will recall the whole discussion that we had with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, which is moving their Shattuck Hospital that's currently in Jamaica Plain over here to East Newton Street to the former BMC facility around 2024. And we had a long discussion about that at our last meeting. There's going to be another community meeting about the whole topic coming up probably in June, which we will advertise. But in the meantime, we've sponsored a meeting just for, well, it's open to anybody, but it was focused on the concerns of people who live right around the site, mostly on East Brookline Street, which is where I live as it happens, but also Harrison, East Newton, et cetera. Just on sort of the impacts of being next door to this place in terms of how it functions. And I just want to highlight one concern that neighbors have flagged and DPH is attempting to work through, which has to do with the parking. You'll see that up in the upper right corner, you see a parking and you see 4 vans and 10 spaces below the Naval Blood Bank and above the equipment yard. So that area is just off the alley between East Brookline Street and the back of the hospital building. And currently that area is sort of a landscaped area of shrubs, mulch, and some trees. And it was pretty scraggly, but actually the state came by with landscapers last week and cleaned it up. And the people who live on East Brookline Street, and particularly on that end of the street, feel very strongly that that landscaped area, which would be taken away by this parking, is very important to their quality of life because it buffers them from what is a big institutional loading dock, as you can see on the map, and a blank wall from the backside of the hospital. It just makes it just gives them a little bit of separation, and they really, really value that. And so that came out at the abutters meeting that we had, where we had over 40 people, which shows you how concerning it was to those who do live nearby. And so the alternatives that the state is exploring are to possibly put parking on East Newton Street, where there's many. It's all metered now, that block between Albany and Harrison. And there's a lot of potential parking there where the vans could be instead of in a new parking area behind people's house. A second alternative might be next to the Naval Blood Bank, which is basically opposite the proposed parking area. And the virtue of that is simply that it preserves that allows that landscaped barrier to be preserved, even though the vans will still be close to people's houses. And there's a couple of other potential sites also, but those are probably the 2 most promising. So we should know more in the next couple of weeks about whether the state feels that those are viable, at which point we can react accordingly as neighbors. Does anybody have any questions about this? Nope. Okay. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about or bring up?
I might just comment quickly, David, that the Buy a Bite program pilot is still ongoing. So for anybody who was part of the meeting last time around, we partnered up with SEBA to support local retailers and local restaurants. So the program is still going. If you shop local, there's nine local retailers in the pilot program. If you shop at those retailers, you can be rewarded with a gift card to one of 5 local restaurants. All of the restaurants and the retailers that are participating are on the SEBA website. So I can paste that in the chat for anybody that wants to take a look. It's been a huge success so far. We started to get some reports back on dollars that have been spent and tied to this program. And there's a variety of different retailers in there. So hopefully on our next meeting, we'll have some of that feedback consolidated to share with everybody, but it's going really well. The retailers are really excited about it, and the restaurants are benefiting from people that are coming into shop. So we'll have some more to share on that, but I just wanted to say that the program is still going. It's been successful, and definitely try to participate if you can.
Great. So one last thing to mention before we adjourn, which is that we have not had a meeting in person since last January of 2020. And I think we're going to continue to do our regular meetings, our member meetings, our community meetings by Zoom, because it has a lot of advantages in terms of people being able to participate easily, everybody being able to hear. It's very easy to live stream. And Matt said that we had 20 people watching the meeting tonight on Insta Live, I think, in addition to the people who were here on the Zoom. It's easy to record. We put all the meetings up on our YouTube channel now, and they get actually a surprising number of views for what this is. So Zoom has a lot to recommend it as a format for our regular meetings, but at the same time, it's been difficult not to be able to meet at all, and the in-person meetings always had a certain element that we'd like to get back to. So I think what we're going to try to do is get back to doing our socials, our informal, every other month kind of a thing in person, and we're going to try to do our first one in June. So we will figure out what a date that hopefully will work for people, and we will announce that. So I just wanted to make mention.
And then David, if I can just say, we've put new posters up around the squares, and all the posters say follow us. Okay. I want to clarify and say we are looking for people, friends, people who care about this community, people who are curious about the projects, people who want a voice, who want to have input into multiple processes that happen in the South End to join us. So, that starts off as volunteering with us and just keeping in the conversation, and ultimately turns into a board membership within a year. So we really do welcome partners and friends to join us. It's not just follow us on social, when not just a curiosity. You can really become a community activist. You can have a lot of fun with us. We do a number of things. There is something for everybody if you're looking for community involvement in Blackstone Franklin Neighborhood Association. So please don't just follow us. Send us an email if you want to get involved and get hooked into any of these projects and anything that David has brought up today.
Thank you, Tony. Anyone else?
Yes. So there would be like a list, like we emailed you, like we were thinking of looking into helping like with the cleanup down the street at the parks, because we're right down the street. And so if we emailed you, we could get back a list of like dates or times. How does that work? I'm just, as far as knowing when to, will that be?
I mean, something like a park cleanup, definitely follow us, because we'd probably put it on social. Matt is our social media guru, and he'll just say, look, we're going to clean up at the park. It's pretty informal, and it's pretty spontaneous. Sometimes it is Tidy Up Tuesdays because it sounds good, and sometimes we rain date it to a Wednesday or a Thursday. But obviously, Mike and Steve, if you're around, you come to the next one, whichever way. But definitely, we let you know what's happening on social media, but you can also get very involved with us too.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you.
I think too, Tony, right? If they provide their emails through the website, then they'll get on the distribution list, right?
Correct. And we certainly don't send a lot of emails, right, David?
We are very judicious.
You do have to follow us, because we don't like to assault you in your mailbox, right? So we leave it to you to follow us on social to get those general announcements. And David is very, very, he makes sure that there are very few emails that land up in your inbox. But we do want your email addresses, because we do want to tell you when something's important.
Definitely, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
David.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Good night. Have a good night, everybody.